Boxing has always been more than brute strength or flashy moves. The great fighters, past and present, have one thing in common. They were masters of the fundamentals. I discussed this with length with Matt Goddard, a highly respected boxing coach and former fighter who I was fortunate enough to have on the channel recently. In his most recent book, A Technical Guide to Boxing Fundamentals, he highlights the growing issue in modern boxing, where the basics are being overshadowed by showery techniques and pad work that might look good for the gram, but let's be honest, it doesn't win fights. And this is a belief both Matt and myself share, that there has been a complete dilution of proper boxing training and that it's taking the sport in the wrong direction. He mentions in the book that boxing has become infiltrated by strength and conditioning experts and coaches from other martial arts, who often lack that deep knowledge required to truly develop a boxer's foundational skills. And I couldn't agree more.
Too many boxers now are more focused on getting fit than getting ready to fight, and I think that's the problem, you know.
So true.
Obsession with strength and conditioning, and the obsession with lifting weights and machines and all of this rubbish, and you know, they've got a crap jab, they can't slip a punch, they don't know how to catch, they've got rubbish footwork, you know, and it's just mind blowing. And you know, these guys are investing an equivalent amount of time in the gym working strength and conditioning as they are in the boxing gym, working on their boxing, and it just makes no sense. It's just it's ludicrous.
We see fewer fighters today who truly embody the technical excellence of boxing's golden era. But there are still great examples out there, fighters who have built careers on fundamentals, with guys like Joe Louis, Bernard Hopkins, Ricardo Lopez, Marvin Hagler, Miguel Cotto, the likes of Gennady Golovkin, Alexander Usyk, Terence Crawford prove that if you stick to the core principles by giving yourself the best solid base you can have, you can rise to the top of this sport. Now, of course, we have to acknowledge the styles and coaching philosophies that can vary greatly across different countries, cities, and even individual gyms. Some fighters may focus more on defense, others on pressure or counterpunching, depending on their background and training environment. However, regardless of the style, you can adopt a unique approach your coach takes, but mastering the fundamentals will allow you to adapt, learn, and grow within any system. Whether you're in a gym in Mexico, where pressure fighting is the hallmark, or in a Philly gym that emphasises on defense and counterpunching, those who truly excel are those who have a firm grasp of the basics. The fundamentals serve as the toolkit that allows you to build and refine your style or how you're trained. That's why they're so crucial. They are not just important for beginners or those looking to get fit, but for anyone serious about reaching the highest levels of the sport. So today, I'm going to give you a deep dive into these fundamentals, the stance, footwork, the jab, combinations and head movement, and how they form the backbone of fighters' success. And I hope by the end, you'll see, as Matt and I do, and many others, that mastering the basics is not just important, it's everything. Before anything else, the first step for any aspiring boxer is to establish your stance. And this means determining whether you're more comfortable in the orthodox stance with your left foot and left hand forward, or a southpaw stance with your right foot and right hand forward. You get the drift. Most right-handed fighters will feel naturally more stable in an orthodox position, while for lefties, it's the opposite. And this foundation may seem simple, but mastering it is crucial for balance, movement, and eventually delivering your powerful, well-timed punches. But let's talk about the key points about making a strong boxing stance. First, your weight should be distributed with about 60% on your back foot and 40% on the front. This setup not only gives you better balance, but it also allows you to generate more force when throwing punches, especially with your rear hand. Just look at fighters like Gennady Golovkin, as he had brilliant balance going backwards and forwards, and he always looked solid in the ring, able to punch with power while maintaining perfect defensive awareness. In terms of your hands, the rear hand should be tight to your chin with your elbows close to your body. This creates a natural guard that allows you to block and catch punches without impairing your vision. Just think of someone like Bernard Hopkins, who was very defensively minded and would always have his guard ready to block and catch or counter effectively.
Let him go. He's strong, durable, has a great heart.
While a more offensive fighter and one of my favourites, Alexis Arguello, would do the same in a more aggressive style.
Arguello blinks a little bit as he comes forward. And over goes the champion.
And of course, next up is your lead hand, and it should be slightly higher than the rear hand, but still more relaxed and close to your body. And this positioning will help you offensively and defensively. Obviously, depending on your style of fighting, the positioning may change, especially if you're wanting to use the jab in many different ways off your stance. But for a beginner, it's vital to keep it a bit more tighter, so you can fall back to that fundamental position, as when you develop this base will help you develop your combinations and lead hand much more effectively. In terms of the feet, your lead foot should stay planted firmly on the ground, while the rear foot is slightly raised at the heel. And this combination allows for explosive movements and the ability to quickly adjust distance. Joe Louis, one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, is known for his textbook technique, perfectly balanced his weight across his feet, giving him the ability to close the distance quickly and land devastating blows. While tucking your chin and looking through the tops of your eyes is also vital. This helps you protect your jaw and leaves the hardest part of your head, the forehead, facing the opponent. And lastly, keeping your knees soft and slightly bent, not locked or overly crouched. This allows you to stay relaxed and maintain energy and react quickly without compromising balance. Some great examples of this are Terence Crawford, who keeps a fluid and relaxed stance, and it allows him to transition seamlessly between offense and defense. In terms of a more aggressive style, Neo Inoue is brilliant at doing this, and it allows them to both transition seamlessly between offense and defense. Now obviously different fighters come from different schools of thought, with varying styles and influences as I just mentioned before. You can be a pressure fighter, or even be more defensively minded and a counterpuncher. But no matter what your style or where you train, the fundamentals of your stance will allow you to adapt and succeed. And once you've got this foundation in place, you can begin to build on everything else on top of it. Your footwork, defense, and your offense all stem from having the right stance. One of my favourite quotes is from an old trainer from the 50s and 60s, John F. Walsh, who said, "When a boxer slides out from his corner at the sound of the bell, a trained eye can immediately ascertain the degree of his ability by the on-guard position he assumes." And this quote reflects just how important footwork is in boxing. Before a punch is even thrown, a fighter's stance and movement tell you everything you need to know about their skill level. Footwork is not just about moving around the ring, it's about positioning, balance and control. It sets the foundations of both offense and defense, dictating the fighter's ability to evade punches and deliver with precision. Many fans associate great footwork with the flashy movements of Muhammad Ali doing shuffles around the ring. But as Matt emphasised in his book, the true fundamentals of footwork are about the economy of motion, balance and efficiency. It's not just about how much ground you can cover, it's about controlling space while staying grounded and maintaining your stance. And I love in Matt's book that he has footwork rules, and something that are so important to follow. These include your feet should always remain wider than your shoulder width, you should never cross your feet, and always adjust to your opponent's position. While footwork is control, you should never overly rush this. The fundamentals of footwork may be simple and boring to some, but without dedicating enough practice to make them second nature, all these flashy moves you see online with pivots, switches, L-steps become useless if you haven't mastered those footwork fundamentals. If you're moving forward, your front foot moves first. If you're going backward, the back foot leads. Moving left, the left foot leads. Moving right, the right foot leads. Sometimes there will be small adjustments you'll need to make in order to get back into a balanced position, but for the most part this always stays the same when you're in the ring. If you can master all these rules, you'll be able to dictate the terms of any fight, both offensively and defensively. The right hand will take you around the block, the jab will take you around the world. I've always really liked this quote, as it really does highlight how crucial the jab is in boxing, as we've seen many fighters over the years with the use of the lead hand alone. And Matt explains how the jab is everything from maintaining distance and preventing attacks to creating openings, doing damage, and even conserving your own energy while draining your opponents. Now I'm not going to tell you how to throw a jab in this video, but once you've nailed down the basics down, in terms of nailing the actual proper technique, you can then start to use it in different variations. such as the flick jab, which is a quick low commitment jab used to establish range and gauge your opponent's reactions. A touch jab, which is more about occupying space and keeping your opponents on edge. Well, it can be great at disrupting your opponent's rhythm and setting up your own counter shots. While even throwing a stiffer power jab, a more forceful jab used to drive opponents backward or pierce through their guard to do damage. Well, there's things like a drop jab thrown from a high guard, and this is great for interrupting an opponent's combination. Well, there's also the up jab, and coming from a lower position, often from the waist, making it difficult for the opponent to see, and it's great for stopping aggressive fighters in their tracks. But mastering these variations at first must come down to you nailing down the original technique. Are you extending it fully? Are you rotating it cleanly? Are you rotating it so it lands on your big two knuckles? Are you overly leaning in with it? Is there any snap? And are you making sure to bring it back to your guard? Before you can even think about doing all these other jabs, have you actually nailed down the traditional fundamental jab itself? It's no wonder it's the most important punch in boxing. Then one of the most fundamental and important factors is jab defense. And Matt covers this extensively in his book, and I don't want to go into too much detail on it, but as this is the most common punch thrown in boxing, it's vital that you know how to defend this. This, of course, is the catch, parry, slip, or take a step back. And they all have different uses in terms of how it helps you defensively or even to counterpunch. For example, if an opponent's throwing a jab, you might just want to disengage by taking a step back. Or if you're taking to look a step further and counterpunch them, a slip is ideal as it brings you into range. While if you want to create a new angle, a parry combined with lateral movement is more effective. And if you want to stay in the pocket, catching a jab keeps you at close range so you can fire back with your own exchange. However, you need to remember everything is situational in boxing. You can't just be slipping every punch that comes at you, while different opponents you face will have different styles, who'd like to do different things. But having those four fundamentals in place will give you a great jab defense in terms of maintaining composure and control, while overall just giving you more confidence. But practice makes perfect. Things like partner drills and mitt work are the best way to effectively enhance this jab defense. Now, if you've watched fighting for a while, you'll know that combination punching is a vital aspect of the sport. However, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, it's often overshadowed by the flashy, unrealistic sequences seen on pads, which can be a never-ending 10 to 50 punch sequence at times. And although it looks really cool and is impressive, if you box, you'll know this isn't practical in a real fight. Most combinations are actually small, efficient, and simple, making sure to use phased head movement and footwork. In Matt's book, he does a great job explaining this. Long range is obviously for a full extension of your punches, however it can leave you exposed to counters, and it's harder to throw hooks and uppercuts at distance, and should be avoided, while jabs and crosses are much better from this range. At mid-range, this is where things kind of change, and hooks and uppercuts are more effective here, while you'll still usually have enough distance between you and your opponent to defend. However, mid-range is also dangerous for yourself as well, as your opponent is also in the same range as you, as this means he can counter you or even attack you more easily. While when you're in the inside or at close range, straight punches are more or less ineffective, and for the most part, hooks and uppercuts will become the most vital tools in these positions. I also liked in Matt's book how he discusses the different types of levels of intensity you should train for these. Think about when you're shadowboxing. Are you relaxed and technical, focusing on your form and precision? Or if you're wanting to step it up, is it relaxed and fast? As once you've perfected the technique, it's more about adding on speed to it, slowly increasing this, so your combinations are more effective. While you can practice at full pace, while trying at the same time to maintain technical accuracy. And if you're able to throw at full speed and maintain your form and technical accuracy, without doubt, you'll be ready for fight night. It's also important to know 5 common situations where combinations are most useful and effective. This includes after the jab, such as momentarily blinding your opponent before firing a right hand. After you make them miss, such as slipping or dodging a punch, and immediately returning with a short combination. On the back foot, when your opponent charges forward, you are still capable of effectively landing punches while moving backward, such as a check hook or uppercut. And when you're on the front foot, when your opponent is backed in the corner or the ropes, these moments can sometimes be the best moment to attack when your opponent is covered up in these positions, allowing you to throw head to body combinations, and vice versa that can create openings for devastating shots. While finally, when you're actually in trouble yourself, sometimes you just have to let your hands go to actually keep an opponent off you, believe it or not. And sometimes you might even get one through. Now, I'm not going to go over the combinations that you should practice yourself, but you can check out this video of the most common combinations I made a few years ago. I do want to stress that you need to end your combinations well. For the most part, these are defensive actions, such as moving your feet so you can get out of range of your opponent attacking you, moving your head so you can utilise a further attack by counterpunching, and this can be done by slipping or rolling punches, or if you notice your opponent takes the back foot after a combination, you can then go in the front foot and go on a new assault. But remember, everything is situational in boxing. Just because you move your head one way one time, doesn't mean your opponent won't catch on to this. That's why it's so important to expand your war chest of abilities, both offensively and defensively. Head movement is probably one of the most visually pleasing elements of boxing. When a fighter can narrowly slip a punch by centimetres, creates a mesmerising sight. Many times it can be more impressive than a clean knockout blow. The ability to make an opponent miss and take advantage of the openings is often the difference between two fighters of an equal skill and level. Not to mention, the mastery of head movement can prolong a boxer's career, allowing them to fight more comfortably at close range or in the pocket, helping you to avoid unnecessary punishment. Furthermore, a fighter with great head movement and defense adds an exciting dynamic to their style. This takes years and years of practice to perfect this head movement, incorporating tools and drills like a good old-fashioned full-body line mirror, keeping your head off the center line, making sure to use slips and rolls while shadowboxing, never staying in the same position too long. While there's things like the slip line can also help with this, or even a good old-fashioned slip back. But probably the best is using partner drills or a coach using mitt work, really help ingrain this skill into your muscle memory. And practicing with pad work or partner drills is probably the best way to simulate real fight conditions, making you better equipped to slip punches, roll under hooks, or pull back from jabs with precision and confidence. The great thing about these methods, it doesn't just teach you evasive techniques, it also improves your reaction times and ability to stay defensively responsible when the heat gets turned up. In this video, we really went over all the core fundamentals that every boxer needs. Stance, footwork, the jab, effective combinations, and head movement. These essentials are the foundation for having a successful career in my opinion, both pro or amateur. It allows you to stay balanced, controlled, and ready to adapt to any situation. Whether you're working on your stance to maintain stability, perfecting your footwork to control the ring, or sharpening your jab to set up combinations and evade attacks with precise head movement. These fundamentals should be at the heart of your training, before you should even think about what style you should impose. Of course, it's crucial to take these aspects seriously and drill them consistently if you want to elevate your boxing skills. But there's so much more to boxing than just fundamentals. And for that reason, I really do recommend Matt Goddard's book, which if you haven't guessed already, inspired this video. It dives deeper into other important areas in boxing, on top of all the fundamentals he covers. If you're a beginner, or even if you're more experienced and you just feel a bit lost with your boxing style and approach, I'd highly encourage you to explore these topics further in the book if you want to. This has been Jamie from Boxing Life. Hope this video has helped out. Master the basics, and the rest will follow. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.